You saw the title. I know. Your brain fired like a firework. It probably made you laugh. Maybe you rolled your eyes. Maybe you clicked because you thought, oh, I have to see what this is about. But let's just get straight to it. Let's talk about what that title really means, because I promise you, it's not what you think, and I'm not here to mess around with clickbait or jokes. I'm here to tell you the truth, the kind of truth that can change how you show up. In your relationships, in your body, in your life, because when we say 90% of women like this penis the most, what we're really talking about is what women actually respond to. And spoiler alert, it's not about size. It's not about technique. It's not about how many women you've been with or how smooth your lines are. That's Hollywood garbage. That's teenage locker room talk. That's ego. And I'm not here to stroke your ego. I'm here to wake you up. Do you know what women actually crave? What 90% of women say they're most drawn to? It's not the body. It's not the bank account. It's not the brand of car you drive or how many followers you have. It's emotional connection. It's safety. It's authentic, grounded, embodied confidence. The kind that comes from doing the hard work of becoming a whole, conscious human being. When a woman feels emotionally safe with you, when she senses you are present, when she knows you're not performing, you're not pretending, you're just really there, that's when the real attraction starts. And for the record, I'm not talking about being soft or sensitive in some cliche kind of way. I'm talking about strength, the kind of strength it takes to say, yeah, I've been through some stuff, I've messed up, I've healed, I've learned, and I'm still growing. That kind of presence. That's sexy, that's powerful, that's rare, because most people are terrified to show who they really are. Most people walk around with masks on, armor strapped to their chest, afraid to be vulnerable, afraid to say, I want love, or I don't have it all figured out, or I'm scared. But that armor, it's repelling people, especially women. You want to know what the most irresistible man looks like. It's the guy who can be honest, the one who can listen without interrupting, the one who remembers what you said because he was actually paying attention. The guy who isn't threatened by emotions but welcomes them, who isn't afraid to sit in silence, who doesn't try to fix everything right away because he understands that sometimes being there is enough. That's the guy women want to undress with their eyes. That's the guy they trust. That's the guy they respect, crave, and keep coming back to, not because he knows some technique, but because he knows himself. He's not perfect, but he's real, he's rooted, and let's be honest, confidence is misunderstood. It's not loud, it's not cocky, it's not the guy yelling over everyone at the bar. That's insecurity with a microphone. Real confidence is quiet, it's calm, it's steady, it walks into the room and doesn't need to dominate it. It doesn't need validation from strangers, it already knows its worth. The kind of man women want the most is the one who owns his power but doesn't have to show it off. The one who can say no with clarity. The one who can say yes without fear. The one who can say I love you without playing games. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't have that kind of relationship with yourself, you won't have that kind of relationship with anyone else. So yeah, 90% of women want that penis. But it's not physical. It's not external. It's not about performance. It's about being a whole, integrated, emotionally aware man who shows up fully, consistently, without needing to be something he's not. Because here's the thing, women don't fall in love with abs. They fall in love with how you see them. They fall in love with how safe they feel when they're around you. They fall in love with how open you are and how that makes them feel open too. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, that's just not how I was raised, or that's not how guys like me are wired, I'm gonna stop you right there. That's a lie. That's a story you've been telling yourself to stay comfortable, and you know what lives in comfort zones. Nothing, no intimacy, no growth, no passion, nothing real. If you want to be the kind of man 90% of women truly desire, you have to stop hiding behind toughness. Stop performing, stop trying to win. This isn't a competition, it's a connection, and connection takes courage. It takes courage to slow down, to ask better questions, to really listen, to go to therapy if you need it. To get curious about your patterns, to stop blaming your ex and start asking, what was my role in that? That's growth, that's sexy. That's the real deal, and don't think for 1 second this message is only for straight men. It's for everyone, because we're all looking for the same thing in the end: to be loved, to be seen, to be accepted, and to feel safe. No one wants to fall in love with someone who's playing a role. We want the truth of you. So if you really want to be unforgettable, if you want to be the person they think about long after you leave the room, do the work, drop the mask, come home to yourself, find the confidence that comes from wholeness, not ego. That's what 90% of women are truly drawn to. And guess what? When you become that kind of man, not only will the right partner find you, but you'll finally love yourself too. And that's better than any trick, any game, or any superficial success. You were made to be powerful. You were made to be emotionally rich. You were made to connect. You just forgot. It's time to remember. Now go show up. Confidence rooted in self-awareness is the most attractive trait. It's not the kind of confidence that puffs out its chest or tries to dominate a conversation. It's not the loudest person in the room or the one constantly needing to prove something. That's insecurity in disguise, and most people, especially women, can spot that a mile away. Real confidence doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need a spotlight. It's quiet, calm, and deeply grounded. It radiates through how someone listens, how they walk into a room without needing validation, how they respond instead of react. It's not about convincing anyone of your worth. It's about knowing it and carrying it in your posture, your tone, your choices, and your energy. Confidence that is rooted in self-awareness comes from a very different place than confidence based on external achievements. It doesn't come from money, looks, success, or performance. Those things might temporarily boost your sense of self, but they don't create lasting inner stability. If your confidence is built on things that can change, your job, your body, your relationship status, it will eventually crack. True, deep, magnetic confidence comes from a place that doesn't shift with circumstance. It comes from the work you've done inside yourself. It's born from taking a hard look at who you are, acknowledging your flaws, facing your past, accepting your imperfections, and choosing to grow. It's not built in a day, but it's real, and people can feel it without you saying a word. When someone is self-aware, they understand their emotions. They recognize when they're getting defensive or triggered, and instead of reacting impulsively, they pause. They notice the pattern. They take responsibility. That's power. That's the kind of internal leadership that other people instinctively trust. When you have that kind of relationship with yourself, when you know your own mind, understand your motivations, and recognize your needs, you don't try to manipulate or perform for approval. You're present. And that presence is what people fall for. It's what creates emotional safety. It's what allows for connection. It's what makes a woman feel like she can let her guard down. People confuse confidence with charm, with charisma, with boldness. But those are surface-level traits. They can be learned, mimicked, even faked. Self-aware confidence can't be faked. It's not about controlling a room, it's about being at peace with yourself. When you walk into a room and you're okay whether anyone notices you or not, that's confidence. When you can sit in silence with someone and not feel the need to fill the space with words, that's confidence. When you can hear feedback, even criticism, and not crumble or attack, that's confidence. When you can say, I don't know, or I need help, or I was wrong, and not feel smaller because of it, that's confidence. And that kind of emotional maturity is what makes someone stand out. Confidence rooted in self-awareness also leads to consistency. You don't swing from highs to lows, from praise to panic. You're centered. You know who you are. You don't need every conversation to go perfectly. You don't need to impress everyone. You don't need to chase validation or control how people see you. You show up honestly, and people can feel that. There's a calm in you, a steadiness, and for anyone in a relationship, especially women, that calmness translates to trust. They feel emotionally secure around you, not because you're pretending to be strong, but because you actually are. And strength isn't force, it's resilience, it's awareness, it's openness, it's self-control. What a lot of people miss is that this kind of confidence doesn't come from avoiding your insecurities. It comes from confronting them, from doing the work, from asking yourself why you feel the need to perform, why you lash out, why you shut down, why you chase people who don't see you. When you dig deep enough, you start to realize that most of what you thought was confidence was actually compensation. You were trying to outrun doubt, not heal it. But once you stop running, once you turn inward, you start to build something solid. You start to realize that your worth isn't tied to being liked, being wanted, being the best. Your worth just is, and from that place, everything changes. When you've got that kind of self-awareness, you stop being reactive. You stop chasing, you stop shrinking, you stop overthinking every interaction. You just show up. Present, open, grounded, and that energy, that's what's truly magnetic. Because people aren't drawn to perfection. They're drawn to authenticity, and you can't be authentic until you know who you are. Not the version you perform for the world, the real you, the honest you, the you that isn't afraid to be seen. That kind of confidence is rare, and it's what makes someone unforgettable. Emotional safety and presence matter more than physical traits. This is something most people overlook when they think about attraction, especially in the context of relationships. We're conditioned to believe that the visual, the flashy, and the physically impressive are what matter most. Society floods us with images and messages telling us that sex appeal is about the body, the hair, the jawline, the style, the car, the abs, the performance. But that's not what creates deep, lasting desire. That's not what makes someone feel deeply connected, open, and safe to fully show up in a relationship. What truly matters, what stays after the excitement wears off, is how someone makes you feel emotionally. And for most women, the foundation of that feeling is emotional safety and presence. Presence is more than just being in the same room. It's more than physical proximity. It's about your attention, your focus, your emotional availability. Being present means your mind isn't somewhere else. It means you're not scrolling, zoning out, checking your phone every 5 minutes. It means you're here with her, listening, taking in what she's saying, responding with care, making her feel like she's not just speaking into a void, but being seen and understood. Presence is about depth. It's about giving your full attention to someone, even in the simplest of moments. And when you're truly present, it creates something that physical traits alone never can: connection. Emotional safety is what allows people to relax, to soften, to take off their armor, to be vulnerable. It's what makes someone feel like they can bring all of themselves into the space. Messy emotions, tough questions, big feelings, without fear of being judged, dismissed, or punished. For women, who are often taught to protect themselves emotionally, feeling safe isn't a luxury, it's a requirement. If she doesn't feel emotionally safe with you, it doesn't matter how good you look or what you bring to the table physically. If she feels like she has to walk on eggshells, if she feels like she can't say what's really on her mind, if she feels like her emotions are too much or her needs are inconvenient, she will start to pull back. She might not even be able to explain why, it will just feel off. Creating emotional safety isn't about fixing everything or always having the right words. It's about showing up consistently. It's about being honest. It's about not using her vulnerabilities against her. It's about validating what she feels, even if you don't always understand it. It's about not disappearing when things get hard. It's about making her feel like she's not alone in the experience. It's about being a steady presence she can count on, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. People underestimate the power of this. They think attraction is all about the chase or the chemistry or the grand gestures. But real intimacy doesn't come from chasing. It comes from being able to exhale around someone, from knowing you're emotionally safe in their presence, from being able to bring your whole self, your joy, your doubt, your fear, your stories, and not feel smaller for it. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she relaxes, she opens, she deepens, she trusts. And from that place, emotional and physical intimacy thrive. Most people try to impress with what they can show, how they look, what they've achieved, what they own. But that's not what people remember years down the road. That's not what creates the kind of emotional imprint that stays with someone. What people remember is how you made them feel. Did they feel heard? Did they feel respected? Did they feel like their emotions mattered? Did they feel like they could tell you anything? That's what builds trust. That's what builds attraction that doesn't fade. Presence also means being attuned. Noticing when something's off, sensing when she's pulling away emotionally, asking real questions and not being afraid of the answers. Presence means you don't just wait for your turn to speak. You're actually listening. You're noticing body language, you're aware, you're not performing or playing a role, you're in it with her. That's rare and it's powerful because most people are distracted. Most people are checked out. Most people are afraid to be fully emotionally present because it requires vulnerability, patience, and self-awareness. There's a reason why people with average looks but high emotional intelligence and grounded presence are often described as deeply attractive. It's because when you make someone feel emotionally safe, when you're fully present, you're offering something incredibly rare. You're offering real connection in a world that's mostly transactional. You're offering depth in a culture obsessed with surface, and that kind of presence, that kind of emotional availability, that's what draws people in and keeps them there. Confidence rooted in self-awareness is the most attractive trait. It's the kind of confidence that isn't loud, doesn't need to boast, and doesn't demand attention. It exists quietly and powerfully, often felt before it's seen. This kind of confidence doesn't come from achievements, appearance, or approval. It comes from deep internal work, from knowing who you are beyond your titles, your body, your resume, or your past. It's not performative. It's grounded, earned, and honest. You can't fake it because it lives in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you sit with silence, and the way you respond instead of react. People often confuse confidence with arrogance or charm. Arrogance needs to be right to win, to be seen. Charm wants to be liked, admired, remembered. But real confidence doesn't need anything from anyone. It doesn't perform. It's not afraid of being misunderstood or overlooked. Real confidence is rooted in presence and self-trust. When you know yourself, you don't panic in uncertainty. You don't chase validation. You don't need constant affirmation to feel secure. You bring a quiet steadiness into the room and people feel it. They lean into it without knowing why. It's magnetic because it's rare. Most people are reacting to the world around them, adjusting constantly to avoid discomfort or rejection. Confident people remain grounded in who they are, regardless of who is watching or what others think. That kind of self-aware confidence begins with honest reflection. It means looking at your patterns, your insecurities, your defense mechanisms, and your history. It means owning your flaws, admitting your mistakes, and staying open to growth. It requires humility because you're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to be real. Confidence without self-awareness is just ego in a costume. Self-awareness keeps you from becoming rigid or defensive. It helps you adjust without betraying yourself. It teaches you how to hold space for others without absorbing their judgments. You begin to understand that confidence isn't just about how you carry yourself outwardly. It's about how well you know, accept, and care for yourself internally. When someone has this kind of self-aware confidence, they become emotionally safe to be around. They don't over-explain, over-apologize, or overcompensate. They're not fragile when challenged. They don't collapse under rejection or criticism. They listen without needing to prove something. They speak without trying to dominate. They offer energy that invites others to relax, to be honest, to be seen. That safety, that emotional steadiness, is what draws people in, especially in relationships where unpredictability and unhealed wounds can create chaos. The presence of someone deeply self-aware feels like relief. It feels like calm. It feels like trust. And trust is where real connection begins. Self-aware confidence also changes the way you deal with failure, fear, and discomfort. You stop seeing mistakes as evidence that you're not good enough. You stop running from the things that scare you. You learn to sit with hard feelings instead of numbing or distracting. You know you can survive disappointment, rejection, and criticism. You know you don't need to have all the answers. You become resilient not because you avoid pain, but because you've learned how to face it. That resilience becomes part of your energy, and people sense it. They feel like you won't fall apart on them. Like you can hold space for difficult conversations. Like you'll show up when it counts. Another thing that makes self-aware confidence so attractive is how it allows for healthy boundaries. You know what you need, what you value, what you'll tolerate, and what you won't. You don't need to prove yourself by pleasing everyone. You don't keep people around just to avoid being alone. You know your worth doesn't depend on someone else's acceptance. You're not afraid to walk away from situations that don't serve your growth or honor your values. That kind of clarity and decisiveness is powerful. It doesn't come from coldness. It comes from self-respect. And self-respect is deeply attractive because it signals maturity, strength, and emotional clarity. Self-aware confidence also shows up in how you communicate. You're able to express what you feel without being reactive. You're not afraid of difficult conversations. You can hear someone's truth without turning defensive. You can apologize when you're wrong. You don't shrink under conflict or explode under pressure. You stay rooted. You listen. You learn. That creates trust. That creates depth. That creates emotional intimacy. And emotional intimacy is what makes any connection, romantic or otherwise, sustainable. Most people spend their energy trying to be liked, admired, approved of. But when you cultivate self-aware confidence, you stop chasing external validation. You stop trying to fit into someone else's idea of worthiness. You start showing up as yourself, fully and unapologetically. You become consistent. You become clear. You become someone who doesn't need to impress because who you are is already enough. That quiet, grounded knowing is what sets you apart. It's what people remember. It's what people trust. It's what makes you attractive in a way that has nothing to do with appearance and everything to do with presence.